Well, it's not a moment too soon for Election Day for all of us that, frankly, are ready to jump out of a window if we see another political ad. Wall Street Journal editor Tom Gara, also editor of the corporate intelligence blog for the Wall Street Journal, has the fascinating and truly mind-numbing details. Tom, good morning.
Morning.
So, $1 billion was spent on advertising for just the presidential campaign.
And that's just the official, campaign expenditures of the two candidates. Once you bring in
add it all up, bragging the surrogates, the congressional campaigns. How much spending did we actually get this election cycle?
Well, what's interesting is no one really knows because some of these groups don't have to disclose what they're spending, but the estimates are pushing north of $6 billion now.
Wow, and that compares to last election cycle.
It's a record breaker. I mean, the numbers are all up. I don't have the exact numbers for the last cycle, and again, it's a hard one to tally up because some groups don't disclose what they're spending and aren't legally obliged to, but it's definitely the biggest ever.
But you do note that, for instance, spending per voter this cycle is probably a lot higher relative to, say, 2000.
Yeah, well, it's more than double. I mean, it was something like about $18 a voter in the 2000 cycle, and that's now up to about $42 is the estimate for this year. So.
Which is kind of remarkable when you think about how few voters, I should say, are actually undecided. I mean, theoretically, what these campaigns are fighting for are all those few undecided voters. But I wonder. It'd be fascinating to tote up how much it was per vote that was actually, in play.
Yeah, and if you look at the map of where the spending was, it was so focused on, some states hardly got any spending at all, and some got this, massive onslaught.
So, by the way, one other fascinating stat is a million ads. Do I have this correct? 1 million ads ran?
Yep. And that's 40% more than in the 2008 cycle, which itself was considered to be a really intensive, really advertising-heavy cycle. So it's a huge increase even on the last election, which everyone thought was this mind-numbingly, heavy advertising election cycle.
Now, what's interesting, I mean, some people were obviously deluged a lot more than others. We're talking particularly, if I'm thinking of the map of ad spending, starting west, you had Nevada got hit hard. Ohio, obviously, Florida, Virginia, some in the Northeast, New Hampshire. I mean, these were the people that really got
Florida especially.
Obliterated with ads.
If you look at the map of the spending, Florida was just, you would not have wanted to be a TV viewer in Florida for the last 6 months. It looks like it was a nightmare.
And what's interesting, media companies actually aren't themselves, the big media companies, aren't maybe the ones benefiting from all this. Is it all the local affiliates? Those are the ones that maybe are benefiting from the flood of ad dollars?
There has, I spoke to a few people yesterday, including our own media reporters, and they say that there is a bit more of a trend now towards advertising on cable, like localized cable ads. But for the big margin of them, for the big bulk of the spending, it's on these local channels, local affiliates of the big channels. And what's interesting is those aren't really in one huge national company that we can easily look at the results. Quite often they're family owned or locally owned or, a small regional operator or something like that. So there's no big...
The kind of thing that's helping keep a lot of those stations afloat, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, another thing that's interesting, online ads. Some people had figured that finally maybe you'd see a lot of this spending going to the internet, and that just hasn't happened, has it?
No, every cycle for years now, the gurus have been saying the next one is the one that's going to be the social media election, it's going to be the internet election, all these cable companies and TV stations are doomed because everyone's going to start advertising online, and every cycle, it just doesn't happen.
And why is that?
Well, there's a lot of possible reasons. One good reason that a few people were giving me yesterday is that actually what the campaigns prefer to do is earn their coverage online. So, through places like Facebook or Twitter, get people to like them, get people to share their content for free, which is actually turning out to be one of the better models online for getting a message out rather than putting a display ad on a site, getting your fans to do it for nothing, with their own energy. So on one level, maybe the campaigns are focusing more on what, that kind of earned coverage rather than paid coverage. And on another, it just does reflect the fact, one analyst said to me yesterday, what you've always got to watch with advertising, watch what advertisers are doing, not what they're saying. So they've been saying for a long time, internet, but still, the migration over hasn't been anywhere near as seismic as people would have thought.
In any case, thank the Lord, it's all over.
Yeah, hopefully.